I went into the show, The Acolyte, with an open mind. I gave it a fair shot, and I said if I thought it was bad, I would say it is bad. And oh, it's bad. Uh, Spoilers, but who cares? The show's trash. Okay, so I want to talk about this first, and then I'll talk about my actual problems with the show. But I just feel like this needs to be addressed. Okay, so I I don't dislike the show because I don't like women. I don't dislike the show because of the diversity of the cast. It's Star Wars, okay? Like there what? No. I dislike the show because it was badly done. Okay? Like and I don't want the conversation to be about the politics outside of the show because uh the only reason that matters, the only reason that's being brought up so much is because the show is bad, right? Like there's nothing wrong with casting the right actor for a role. If they do a good job in that role, there is nothing wrong with hiring voices from marginalized or underrepresented communities if their voice is well articulated. But you can't just come in and do a terrible job and expect everybody to be fine with it. Um what? Because we don't see a lot of it? Like it's it's really frustrating for me that that the conversation is going to be, you know, men that like Star Wars don't want women in their space, that the franchise is a male space, or that the problem was like having women in the show at all. I don't. I think that's ridiculous. I just I'm really frustrated that with a show, Star Wars show, with so many females in the cast, that it sucks. Because I don't think anybody would have a problem with the show if it was good, right? Like, if the show was anywhere as good as The Mandalorian, then it would just be another show people liked, right? But it's not a good show. like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with people coming into existing franchises and adding their voice or their story, as long as like they can do it as competently as the people who built up their reputation of it being a good franchise, right? Like this is exactly the same problem I had with The Witcher. Um, my problem wasn't that they decided to change the Witcher story, because these things happen with adaptations, right? My problem was that they made it worse, and you know, that's why there's pushback. That's why that's why it's a problem. It's not like if you want to come in and think that you can do it better, then do it better. But if you want to come in and make something worse and expect like special treatments, then like that's not going to happen, right? Like look, Ryan Johnson is a white guy, right? He ruined Star Wars. No one no one was like, well, it's okay because he's a white guy and Star Wars, you know. No one said that. Everybody was like, wow, he did a really bad job on that movie. We don't like it because it's bad. Like the conversation was never about the person, uh, like the racial makeup or the gender of the person who made the bad thing, right? It was just bad, and everybody could just have an honest conversation about it being bad. And I want the conversation to be the show sucks because it was bad, right? and I'm just frustrated that a lot of the like critical discussion is kind of being lost with people discussing like, you know, I'm sorry, but like if the exact same people had been cast, if the exact same people had worked on the show and it was good, then the conversation would never be on who created it or who was cast in it or like the type of person cast in it. Um like okay. So it's frustrating for me to have even needed to say any of that because I should be able to have an earnest conversation about whether or not a piece of fiction is good or bad without any discussion about the people who made it. But I feel like there's too much of a conversation with in lots of fiction recently that if you don't like it, that there's some problem you have, right? That there's some ulterior motive you have for not liking something that's bad. No, like I'm sorry. If you can't clear the quality bar that was set by the Star Wars Christmas special with a much bigger budget, then you've messed up. I haven't messed up as a viewer. Okay. So the show takes place on I didn't even learn the planet's name, right? There is a big stone fortress that has been built into a mountain. The stone fortress is made out of stone, kind of covered in adobe, right? It's a very strong, secure area. And it's it's referenced by characters in the show that it's on a seemingly uninhabited planet otherwise. So we're led to believe that the whole town is a coven of force sensitive witches, right? That that have stonemasons amongst them somehow because they were able to build up this big stone fortress. Do you know why castles were made out of stone? I'm just going to get into it. Do you know why castles are made out of stone? Because forts that are made out of wood burn, right? Like they constructed an oven. And do you know what an oven does? An oven keeps heat and fire inside of it until it gets warm. And so that what's inside of the oven burns and it doesn't get out of the oven and burn other things, right? That's how fire works. Okay? I mean, like, that's not even my biggest problem with it, but like, let's start there. Okay? Um, Fire doesn't spread in an oven, right? Like, there has to be things to burn. You can't depict an area as like stone and adobe with like little to no fabric or wood or paper or other flammable objects in it, right? You can't have a child burn one little paper book and it be enough kindling to create a fire that can burn an entire town down within like a short span of time. Okay? Like, can we just start there? Can we just start with what a dumb idea that was? Like, you know, the first episode hints that she started a house fire, like, and I just assumed that it was a house that had some wood in it, or clothes, or rugs, or curtains, or things that could burn, right? Like, I'm sorry, but seeing a like it was stupid, right? this was a situation like in like a horror movie, right? If you are doing, I mean, and this wasn't a low budget show, but if you're doing a low budget horror movie, you don't show the monster, right? Because if you show the monster, it's going to look stupid, right? And then nobody's going to be scared of it because it's stupid. So if you decide that a little girl like killed her family and her entire coven apparently in a fire, then maybe don't show the fire if you can't do it right. Like, because it's stupid, right? Like, I was completely pulled out of everything because I was like, wait, what? Okay. Like, that's bad, right? It was bad. Okay. Now, it really frustrated me because again, in the previous episode, right? Um, she goes and what was I have to look up the character's name, right? Like this is like I Torben, right? She goes and finds Torben, who had been meditating for 10 years in almost like a coma state, right? Or catatonic state, right? And then she like offers him poison, right? And he drinks it because he felt guilty about what he had done, right? So I wrongly assumed when seeing that scene that the Jedi had done something wrong that they needed um to amend for, right? That they needed penance. The character May is on a vengeance quest against the four Jedi that arrived in her fortress, right? To potentially take her and her sister away from her family, right? That's her problem. That four people who were doing their job and following the laws and upholding the vow that they took, right? They did their they showed up and did their job, and she's on a vengeance quest like towards them because of it, right? um I assumed that they had done something wrong, right? So they arrive, they observe for a couple of days, and then they approach, and they're clear, right? And they're not violent, they're not hostile. They say, "Look, you know, we have laws. We have, you know, um, there you can't train force sensitive children. Um, it's dangerous, right? Their problem was that children were being trained in the force, right? Like the problem is not that what is it people are saying coven of lesbian space witches exist, right? The problem was that within the coven of lesbian space witches, they were training force sensitive children um without like you know without authorization, right? Like I mean, like the same thing would have happened if they had found force sensitive children in any other situation. This is a common theme in the expanded universe of Star Wars, right? Like you just hope you hope the Jedi get to you before the Sith do, right? Depending on the era, right? Um but um but no, so they show up, and her mother, right? Like tortures this guy, Torben, right? Her mom tortures him, and he's just doing his job, right? Like, from what I understand, he's just along for the ride at that point. Like, I think he was still a Padawan at that stage, right? I think that was how he was introduced. So, why would he drink poison. What did he have to apologize to her for? Like, she was a selfish little girl. She she got so angry at her sister for wanting to choose a different path in life, which, by the way, her mother agreed to, right? Like, the little girl was honest. Like, she would rather be a Jedi than a witch. And she had a normal conversation with her mother about it, and her mother was going to have a normal conversation with the rest of the group with it, right? But this little girl is like, no, um, stay with me forever, or I'm going to end you, right? YouTube. Okay. So, she's a bad person, right? Like, that's bad. You don't you don't go around taking people out because, like, they don't want to be around you. No one will like you if you act like that, right? Like, you know, like, her sister was leaving, but she lost her moms too, right? Like, she lost everybody she'd ever known in a single fell swoop. Why was that her plan? Why would that make any sense? Like, also, like, again, this is neither like here nor there, but like, during the ascension, right? Okay, so look, Star Wars has witches in canon. Okay, there are the Night Sisters of Dathomir. They're actually like kind of interesting. They use the Force. They use the dark side of the Force without it completely taking over them, right? So and it's cool. And there's other Force sensitive types that experience the Force in different ways. I saw some conversation where people were taking issue with them calling it the thread instead of the Force. But I mean, this is very common. Like, lots of different cultures and areas in the same universe can have different words for the same thing, and that's completely fine and reasonable. And I didn't take issue with that. That would have been fine. I didn't mind the area, the scenes where they were training. I thought that was done fine, right? Like, I'm not angry that the characters existed. I'm not I'm not upset that you know that there's Jedi and there's witches, right? Like, that's fine. And that's not even unique to the show within Star Wars. Like, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem that this is how it was done, right? Like, I I don't care, right? Like, I don't personally care that she had two moms. I just I just thought it was kind of strange that they referred to one of their moms as mom and the other one by her name, right? And then there's like a scene where the Zavrik woman, I don't remember. I'm sorry. I don't remember the character's name. She was the Zabrak. Um they referred to her by her name, and at one point she says like she was the one that actually um like did the childbearing, right? Like, in the relationship. So like, she was their birth mother and they don't refer to her as mom. That's messed up, right? If you're going to if you're if you're gonna try to represent like a lesbian relationship in a show, why did you do that so badly, right? Because that's bad, right? Like, I I would have preferred that that wasn't I don't know, I took issue with it. I don't have a good way of expressing like why. It's just um she seemed it seems like the hierarchy of their order uh overrode um the balance of a relationship, and that was a very strange dynamic to shove in there. Like, and I mean, yeah, again, the show was bad and there was other problems, but like why put it like why put that relationship in there and then show it in such a strange way, right? Like I I it's so frustrating because the when you represent a group that you feel like is underrepresented in a bad way, how is that better? Like if you're, if you want to have um a coven of witches, right? And you had what, like 40 minutes? How long was the show? You had 40 minutes to do it. Why is this the like why is this how you chose to represent them? Like it was bad, right? Like you had them having a parenting discussion about like candy, spice creams or something, right? Um and it's like they can't have candy. They went to a tree. And it's like I say they can have candy and then they can have candy. And it's like, wow, that's not a great relationship. Okay. Like, like that's not how you talk to your partner that you're raising children with. That's weird. Like why put this in here? Why? Like um and then the ceremony, right? Again, like if you've got a really bad prosthetic monster in a horror movie, don't show the monster, right? Like if you don't know a good way to show a ritual, right? And you don't want to write in how the ritual actually works, then like don't ham fist it. Don't do a bad job of it. Just don't show it, right? Like they should have, if they didn't want to explain why she could like gather energy from the universe to give a tribal tattoo to her child instantaneously, then maybe they shouldn't have shown it, right? Like her daughter May a got it in like a tribal tattoo, right? Which for the people that get them, they're done painstakingly with somebody like taking like a nail and wood and like carefully putting each dot of ink in, right? Like they look really painful, and they're very meaningful. Like the patterns are meaningful. They you know but like for her to just like just force zap a tattoo on no explanation, right? Why did they show it? I'm like, what? Like she ascended, um, like she what? Like I guess I guess that's her witch's mark, but like what? Like why did you show this? Why why did you choose to like just randomly appropriate a culture, right? Like and then like not even like accurately show like how what? I'm sorry. I don't understand any of the choices that were made. Like the dialogue was so awkward, and what did the Jedi do that was wrong, right? They showed up, they did their job. One little girl was like willing and interested in joining their order, and one little girl wasn't, right? And I don't know in the Acolyte universe, how that would be handled. I've seen how it was handled in like the Old Republic, right? Like, that's bad. Like, but but like, how can you show that night, right? Like, how can you show these events that you've hinted at for 2 episodes, right? And then show it in such a bad way, right? Like, it was terrible. Like, I'm left confused, right? Like, why would she want to go on a vengeance quest against the 4 people that showed up and did their job in the best way possible without really harming anybody? Like, if she was angry at them for that being the way the world works, then I can understand that being like a conversation she needed to have with her parent. But I can't understand why that would be her. And also, originally in the show, right? She she blames them for her sister's death, but she thought she had caused it, right? Like, she looks her sister right in the eyes, like through a door, but she looks at her sister and says with her whole chest what she's about to do, and then does it. Why is she mad at them for showing up, right? Like, there was a conversation before the Jedi were even present of her sister not wanting that life. Her sister wanting to go off and explore, to do something else, to meet other people, right? Like, she didn't like that they were the only 2 children on the planet. And I can understand how lonely that must be. Even if you have a sister, like, I can completely understand that it was appealing, the idea for her to go off and meet other children, to, she was excited about a lightsaber, right? Like, they're young and things aren't that deep, right? Like, she wanted to see more kids. She wanted to travel around space. She wanted to get to use a lightsaber. She wanted to, like, meet new people and go off and do something else. She didn't want to stay on, on which planet, in the fortress of two kids, right? Because that doesn't sound like an appealing childhood for some people, and if her sister was nervous about losing her family, why was her first thought to lose her family forever? I don't know. Everything was handled badly. I didn't like it at all. And it's extra frustrating because I I feel like any valid criticism of a bad show is going to be lost with a conversation about, the motivations for people criticizing the thing that's bad, instead of just listening to the criticism. The show is bad because it was badly done, right? It was poorly thought out. It was badly executed. Okay? If the if people felt like they had a story to tell, why didn't they tell the story? Like, it like, I I took nothing away, right? I didn't learn any lessons about why. Um like, it was like, oh, the women, the women were hunted down because the way that they train in the force isn't allowed. And it's like, okay, that sucks. Can we have a conversation about the merit of training in the force in this way? They did show a little bit of that with their training, and you could see that it is, it's as structured and taken as seriously as the Jedi's, right? Why was there never any discussion of, hey, I understand these laws exist to protect from having, having people trained in the Force, which is dangerous in ways that could be harmful to the greater society, but it felt like they were training them in a way that wasn't. I mean, they didn't seem to be harming anybody. They seemed to be just literally living their cloistered life. They hinted at, like, how did you make the children, right? That again, I don't care about that. Um, you know, Wonder Woman was made out of clay, right? Like, this is fine. This has happened. Because like the Amazonians didn't have any men, so they didn't have any children. Like, this is not unique to fiction. It would have been totally fine. Um, like it, I don't know. And I don't feel like I didn't give it time to get there with anything. I felt like every time that I was like, "Oh, that's weird, but I'll give it a chance," I'm like, "Oh, she's totally gonna get in a fist fight with a Wookiee. I'm waiting for that to happen next episode. Oh no, I'm not even gonna suffer through some episodes just to see that happen. Like, I want to see May fist fight a Wookiee. I want that to be a thing that happens. But I'm not gonna sit through the whole show to watch it. Um, Look, I didn't like the show because it's bad. If you didn't like the show because of any other reasons, don't watch it anymore. Don't watch it. Maybe even cancel Disney Plus. Like, for now. Um, like, specifically, like, turn off the show and cancel Disney Plus immediately after. Send it as like a hey, I don't want this. But yeah, like, don't watch the show if you don't want to see more shows like this. Don't support it in any way. Um, like, let your voice be heard if you don't like it. But I just wanted to be honest about my reasons for not liking it. Um, I don't feel like any of the things that were in the show themselves were the problem. I feel like the execution of how it was shown was the problem. I think that the story was stupid. I think that the way that it was shown was bad. I think that and again, this is Star Wars. There has been a lot of stupid things in Star Wars that have been completely hand waved because, as a whole, the movie or the show or whatever was still good. It's like, oh, that was kind of dumb. Like, why are we having a train heist in a time of space flight, right? Like, why? Like, what is Life Day? This is weird, right? Like, this is weird, but like, you know, it was done in a way that it was left like, well, okay, not like, this is weird and stupid and badly done. Like, I don't know. The problem with the show for me is that it was so bad that it was off-putting. Like, I don't want to watch it anymore. Like, it feels like a waste of my time. Like, I I don't feel like it. I don't like where it's going. I don't like a lot of the characters, which is a shame because like, people liked Yord, right? Lee Jung Ja learned English to play Soul, right? Like, that's crazy. Like, he learned English for this show. What a waste of his time. I hope that I hope he gets picked up to do something else because he seemed to be good in his role. Um, you got Carrie Ann Moss and you didn't use her. Like, I was like, oh, maybe she'll show up in flashbacks. She shows up and just stands there. Like, you don't let her do anything. Like, you had her on set and you did nothing with her. Like, you know, like Daphne King, who plays Jackie, right, is a really talented actress. Like, she was like Lyra in His Dark Materials, right? They barely had any lines for her. She did her best when she would show up, right? Like, the show was like, poorly thought out. The dialogue was badly written. Some of the scenes were poorly like shot. Like and this is just nitpicking at this point, but like, you know, adding a film grade on a show is weird because you know, this isn't found footage, okay? This is a huge big budget show. Like why did you make that choice? Um I don't know. The whole thing feels like, hey, we want to add a new area to Disneyland. So we're going to make some streets that will work as an amusement park because we really want some of that Harry Potter world money. And let's just build a show around it. Like that, that's really the impression that I got because, you know, a lot of the areas felt like a set. And that's a shame because you know, something that made even the original trilogy good was that they built the vernacular architecture for the areas that the characters would visit, and it really sold it as a existing world. And that was like just somebody having a passion for detail and environmental storytelling. And the environments in this show told me that you wasted your budget. Like I the environment of the fortress told me there's not a lot of things to burn, right? You've got these big open adobe spaces with plenty of space. This was like, you know, uh, if a tragedy was going to happen there, a fire is a weird one. Like I just thought that was ridiculous. And you know, and again, like what? I'm sorry. I didn't like the show. Take care.